Van Ryken Productions presents Blood Noir.
Last time, on Blood Noir, Sterling and Maeve returned to the safe house to find that the place had been completely destroyed. Inside, they found that Henry had been murdered, his wife kidnapped. The only clue to her whereabouts was a bloody note indicating that they should come to Cunningham Park. Boris determined that this could only be the work of one person, his estranged brother Strigoi, one of Sinclair's enforcers. They realized that the monster had kidnapped Evelyn to exchange for the mysterious book and blood token that had been stolen. Meanwhile, Carlisle Sinclair spoke briefly with Strigoi over the phone, the latter revealing his plan to extort the trio for Sinclair's missing items. Making his way to the tower's basement, Sinclair visited the secret rooms where human cattle were kept and sated his thirst for blood. Later that night, Maeve, Boris, and Sterling entered Cunningham Park and were soon confronted by Strigoi. After a very tense back and forth, the exchange was made and Evelyn was rescued, leaving the three of them without the items. They left the park, understanding that they had only escaped with their lives because Sinclair wanted it to be so. They rushed the unconscious Evelyn to a nearby hospital and drove off to another safe house on the opposite end of town. With danger mounting even higher, they knew they needed to come up with a plan to stop Sinclair before he brought his plans to fruition. The story continues today on Blood Noir. Another day and night passed without event. The streets of Silvercrest were quiet. The day of the full moon had arrived. In his office, Carlisle Sinclair trembled with anticipation. With the blinds pulled tightly shut to block out the sun, he found that he could not even rest. The moment was at hand. Come nightfall, he would complete the ritual. He ran his hand along the spine of the book that Strigoi had returned to him. He had been keeping the book and the blood token close at hand. He could let nothing go wrong now. He looked up from his desk as the door to his office opened.
Master, I have updates. We've had familiars scouring the city during the day, and your children are searching at night. No sign of Angrave or the Syndicate members. We didn't want you to be out of the loop.
Find them right away.
Understood, Master.
No guns unless absolutely necessary.
It'll be done.
As the familiar departed, Sinclair tapped his fingers on the desk impatiently. He knew he should rest, but his nerves were too much. He once again took the elevator down to the 35th floor and stepped into the rock garden. At the mysterious altar in the back, he ran his hands along the stone, muttering quietly to himself. As Sinclair restlessly paced the halls of his tower, his anticipation grew, not knowing what those interlopers were up to, or if they would be a problem. He went down to the lobby, where two security guards waited for him.
The building is locked down?
Yes, sir. We've got men all over the main floor. Doors are locked. Alarms are set.
Good. Remember, no guns unless absolutely necessary.
The guards nodded, gesturing to the batons on their hips. Sinclair turned on his heel and returned to his penthouse, where he planned to while away the rest of his day in nervous excitement.
And we're waiting for nightfall?
We have to. Whatever Carlisle is doing, it's going to be at night. We can't interrupt him if we show up at noon.
Seems like we could just sneak in at noon and steal the book back and destroy it. But anything for the plot, I guess.
What?
Don't worry about it.
Sterling and Maeve sat at a beaten-up card table in the Syndicate safe house. This one was merely an office space at the back of a warehouse downtown. Boris had shown them, however, that the place was stockpiled not only with food and supplies, but weapons and ammunition, thanks to a series of hidden compartments. Boris had gone out to take a look around the area to make sure none of Carlisle's goons were lurking, promising to be back within the hour.
And you're really planning on just going through the same entrance as last time?
The building doesn't have a lot of doors. It's still our safest bet, even if it's guarded.
And then what? We just come in guns blazing?
No. We sneak as far as we can till we get to the 35th floor. We find Sinclair, and we take him out.
So we're really gonna kill him, huh?
You haven't met him yet. He's a psychopath. He'll kill us as quickly as look at us. We need him gone.
I guess.
Any other questions, oh great questioner of the plan?
Excuse me for one to understand. And yes, we kill Sinclair. Then what? Destroy the book? Melt down the token?
Ideally. We don't know definitively that Sinclair's ritual isn't real, and even if it's not, a real loon of a vampire will still kill people to try. We don't want anyone else attempting it.
The perimeter is clear for now. Is everyone clear on the plan?
I don't know. Are we, Sterling?
Good. Now, we wait.
And wait they did. Once the sun began to set, they geared up, strapping their firearms to their hips, Sterling opting for a pair of brass knuckles. Maeve chose a baseball bat, while Boris selected a machete.
Remember, Angrave, no shooting unless we have to. Can't have the police showing up while we're still in the building.
Yeah, I got it.
They drove in silence for some time, weaving through the streets of Silvercrest. The evening sky was cloudy and rain pattered on the roof of the car.
Boris, you're sure you're ready to see your brother?
I do not have much of a choice.
Fair enough.
Boris, I feel like I should apologize. When Evelyn was taken...
There is no need. You were upset, and rightly so. I will not be so cowardly now.
I don't know about being a coward. That Strigoi fella's huge. I was scared too.
You? The intrepid Sterling Angrave?
I don't remember anything in the story that mentions me being all that brave.
What?
Forget it.
Well, you will need to be brave now. We all will. This is it. The big moment. We've been trying to corner Carlisle Sinclair for years. And now we have. We know exactly where he will be.
Boris was back to being his usual cheerful self, and it put the other two a bit more at ease. They eventually pulled the car into a parking spot a few blocks away from Sinclair Industries. The sun was fully down at this point. The rain had let up, and the clouds had parted somewhat, revealing a bright, full moon.
This is it. Keep your wits about you and don't get killed.
Good luck.
She is right. We're heading back into the lion's den. And now, the lion knows we're coming.
I know the stakes. Let's just do it already.
And with that, they were off, circling the building until they found the same service entrance Maeve and Boris had used the other day. Peering carefully around the concrete wall, Maeve noticed two armed guards waiting. Before Sterling or Boris could move, Maeve had launched herself from behind the wall and set herself upon the two men. They rushed down the short staircase after her, but arrived just in time to see her finish up, kicking one of the unconscious bodies.
Just familiars. They're alive, but they'll be feeling that tomorrow.
Why are we even here, Boris? We should have just sent Maeve in.
She is good at what she does.
Quiet now, both of you. We don't know what's past this door.
The service tunnel was cold and quiet. They stepped into the tower, not fully knowing the danger that awaited them. Sinclair strolled down the deserted hallway on the 35th floor, headed for the rock garden room once more. It was time. With the book and the token in hand, he pushed open the glass door and strode along the concrete paths. In the sand around him sat several dozen people, all glassy-eyed and vacant. Each one of them was securely tied and unable to move. He strode to the altar at the back and set the book down. He opened it lovingly, turned to the correct page. Running a finger along the paper, he began to read.
In nomine lunae, in nomine noctis, invoco te deum sanguinis, in nomine lunae, in nomine noctis, invoco...
Master.
Carlyle stopped his reading and turned. Strigoi stood at the door of the garden, looking impatient.
Strigoi, what is it you want? They are here, Argrave and the others.
Then find them and bring them to me. Stop interrupting me with nonsense and do your damn job.
Of course, Master.
Strigoi departed, leaving Sinclair to his silence once more.
Now, where were we?
He walked over to the human thralls that lay tied up around the room. Grabbing one by the collar, a man in his mid-30s, Sinclair dragged him over to the altar, grabbing a ceremonial dagger and holding it to the thrall's throat.
In nomine lunae, in nomine noctis, invoco te deum sanguinis.
He dragged the edge of the blade along the man's throat and watched his blood spill over the altar.
Auxendium ofero ut vivus.
The dying man twitched and squirmed, and Carlyle dropped him to the floor. One down, 2 dozen to go. Carlyle stood at the altar, which was now soaked with blood. Numerous corpses lay strewn about him. As desperately as he wished to feed, this blood was not his. He stood with the dagger in one hand, the hair of the final thrall grasped firmly in the other.
With your sacrifice, you will usher in a new age for vampires. The sun will darken, and the blood gods will rise again. I thank you, puny human.
As he brought the dagger to his final victim's throat, he chanted again.
In nomine lunae, in nomine noctis, invoco... Good, they're here. A few more sacrifices couldn't hurt.
He turned just as the glass door of the rock garden shattered and 3 people entered, all with weapons.
Welcome, friends. Come on in. We're just getting started.
So, you're Sinclair, huh? I thought you'd be... taller.
Original? You must be Sterling Angrave, the intrepid investigator. Does it feel to be staring death in the face?
I was gonna ask you the same thing, buddy.
And this is the famous Boris. How wonderful to meet you. You run the Vampire Syndicate cell, don't you? It'll be a delight to cut the head off the snake.
You can certainly try.
And you? I don't know you.
I'll carve my name into your corpse when we're done with you.
Ooh, feisty. I like you. I'll save you for last.
Maeve fired a round from her pistol, and Sinclair moved with such speed that his form seemed to blur. He dodged the shot, which splintered the wall behind him.
Now, let's not be hasty.
With another burst of incredible speed, Carlyle almost vanished from the altar. As Maeve, Sterling, and Boris frantically looked around, the lights in the room went out. They stood back to back, weapons at the ready, panic rising in them.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you exactly what is going to happen to you.
I ain't hearing it.
Oh, but you are, Mr. Angrave. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take you one by one. I'm going to knock you out and slice your throats. Then, when I've eaten my fill, I will sacrifice what's left of you. And when I'm done, by the full moon, the old blood gods will rise once more. The sun will be blotted from the sky, and your puny human race will be doomed.
Sterling heard Boris fall and instinctively swung out, catching only air.
A powerful swing, I can tell you a fighter, but you won't hit me.
By the flash of Maeve's firearm, Sterling saw Carlyle flash by. He drew his own firearm and waited. In the next flash of Maeve's gun, Sterling tracked Carlyle best he could and opened fire. He saw Carlyle stop, a blossom of blood spreading over the breast of his white suit.
Impressive. I don't think I've ever been shot before.
Split up. Find the lights. I'll keep him busy.
Got it.
Sterling listened to Maeve's footsteps, making sure to avoid her as he laid down cover fire. As Sterling struggled to load fresh bullets into his revolver, he heard Carlyle laughing from somewhere in the room. The lights suddenly flickered on again, and Sterling saw Maeve across the room by a switch. Then Sinclair was on her. He held her by the hair. She cried out.
Go to hell, Sinclair!
Sterling dashed across the room. Sterling threw all his weight into a flying leap, driving Carlyle into the ground. Maeve stumbled away. Before Sinclair could get his bearings, Sterling wailed on his face with both fists over and over. Carlyle fought back, fangs snapping for Sterling's throat. Sterling met this with a headbutt. Sterling felt a weight on his shoulder. He looked over, a stake held by Maeve. With one swift motion, Sterling grabbed it and brought it down on Sinclair. Carlyle coughed up a clot of blood at the stake punctured in his chest. His eyes went vacant for a second before his expression grew angry.
Missed my heart. Amateur.
Sinclair, in a burst of strength, shoved Sterling off of him and was gone with his preternatural speed. They watched as he appeared back at the altar, grabbing hold of his last thrall, who had been very weakly trying to crawl away.
Fine. This one will do. This is the last of the blood I need.
No!
Before either Angrave or Maeve could react, Carlyle slit the man's throat, cackling like a madman.
Blood gods, come to me! Let me be your vessel.
There was a long silence where Carlyle stood, arms wide, expecting something. Nothing happened. No movement, no light, no sound. After a long moment, Sinclair lowered his arms, looking crestfallen.
Well, this is unexpected.
Yeah, nothing happened. It's all a bunch of hooey.
Now it's over.
Do it, Maeve!
The woman leaped forward, tackling Carlyle again and thrusting a stake deep into his chest. She didn't miss. It was over as quickly as it had begun. Carlyle Sinclair died without fanfare on the 35th floor of Sinclair Industries, his life taken for a dream that would never be.
Well, that was a little anticlimactic.
I don't know what we were thinking. It was all just religious hokum.
He killed all these people. For nothing.
Yes, Boris!
The older man lay sprawled on the floor, bleeding from a wound in his neck. Maeve looked closer. Bite marks.
No, Boris, please!
Maeve.
You're alive, thank God.
Not for long, Maeve. You have to end it. I will become like him if you don't.
No, I won't. We can figure it out. We'll stop it. I know we can.
There is no stopping. It's time. Please.
Boris pressed his gun into Maeve's hand.
Oh, you can't ask this of me. I won't.
Maeve, let me do it. You know what'll happen if we don't.
Weeping, Maeve stood and moved away, turning her back. Sterling leveled his pistol at Boris.
Sorry to have to do this, pal.
Do not be sorry. Just don't let them win.
Six months passed after the death of Carlyle Sinclair. Maeve and Sterling had their work cut out for them. They took it upon themselves to find the families of each of the victims and notify them. It was hard to explain their deaths without mentioning vampires. Evelyn recovered and was discharged from the hospital, and she went home to spend her days in mourning for her husband. Neither Sterling nor Maeve heard from her for months. They buried Boris and Henry in the woods well north of the city. It was a quiet affair, with just the two of them and a few returning members of the syndicate in attendance. Life moved on, and one day Sterling found himself back in his office, reviewing case files for some rich lady who thought that her diamond necklace had been stolen by her son.
Engrave Detective Agency. This is Sterling.
I've got something.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, a couple of weapons dealers for the Lombardi family just went missing last night.
Bloodsuckers?
I'm pretty sure.
All right. Where do you need me?
Meet me on the dockyard at the trailer. I'm still trying to sort out Boris's filing system, if you can call it that.
You've been real busy since you took over, huh?
You have no idea. Just come by so we can talk.
Fine.
See you soon, rookie.
Sterling poured himself a glass of whiskey, staring at his reflection in the liquid before taking a sip.
Look at me. Huh. Sterling Engrave. Private Eye. Vampire Hunter.
He downed the whiskey and grabbed his coat.
No one will ever believe me.
Blood Noir, Episode 11, featuring the voice talents of Aubrey Akers as the narrator, Chris Wentworth as Sterling Engrave, Melissa Sacrison as Maeve, S. Levens as Boris, Sean O'Laughlin as Strigoi, Steve Jones as Carlyle Sinclair, Gerald Van Ryken as Guard Number 1, and Mihai Matei as Guard Number 2. Additional voices by Rissa Montañez. Written by Gerald Van Ryken, directed by Adam Blanford. Sound effects provided by freesound.org in the public domain. Covert Affair, Lightless Dawn, Base Walker, Hard Boiled, Ossuary 6, Air, Trouble with Tribals, On the Ground, The Escalation, Interloper, Heavy Heart, I Knew a Guy, and Vibing Over Venus was composed by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. http://creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0. Blood Noir, copyright 2024 by Gerald Van Ryken. This production is copyright 2024 Van Ryken Productions. This concludes Blood Noir. Check out our other shows at Van Ryken Presents wherever you get your podcasts.